I'm fantasy author Jefferson Smith, here with another installment of the 5-Minute Immersion Lab. Today, I'd like to talk about one of the 3 most common problems I find in indie fiction: echoing headwords. When the first word or phrase of a sentence is repeated again at the beginning of the next one, it creates a tiny ripple of déjà vu, a sort of cognitive echo. Used deliberately, this repetition can be a powerful rhetorical device. Consider the following excerpt, taken from a real book and read for us today by my flat-as-a-pancake sidekick, Fabrizzio.
His last memory was seeing the bulk of the ship on the horizon. His first memory was being inside the ship, looking down at a world the color of dust. A little bit later, his last memory was looking out the window at the sun rising over still green seas. His first memory was a blue world. And later again, his last memory was the sun through the trees and the wind on his face. His first memory was looking out a window, trying to find his gravesite from orbit.
These all echo on the word his, and it's one of the best examples I've ever seen of intentional rhetorical echo. In each pairing, the echo tells you to pay attention, declaring that the sentences are connected to each other in some way. In this case, having had your attention drawn to the paired sentences, you realize that the apparent contradiction between them means something. His first memory comes after his last memory? How does that work, you might wonder? Oh, I get it. He's been reborn. Hey, and now I see that the apparent contradiction between them could actually happen if a great deal of time had passed between them. That is so cool. Now obviously, not every rhetorical echo implies some kind of sci-fi time jump, but they all do have one thing in common. All rhetorical echoes are trying to draw your attention to the echoing passages as a group, to emphasize some metaphorical or symbolic relationship between them. Think of it as a sort of stylistic underlining. But it only works when it's been done intentionally. A typical reader is attuned to this sort of stylistic underlining because she's seen it before, done properly. But when she encounters an accidental case, she doesn't yet know that it's accidental. So she assumes the emphasis is there for a reason and begins looking for it. And that's where the trouble starts. Fabrizzio?
The robot reared up onto one set of legs and whirled around, searching for its target. The robot slammed its metal arms into the security panel, cracking it in two. The robot kept going until only shards of glass and strings of wire remained. The robot rotated, its head cranked to the side, seeming confused.
In an accidental case like that, there's no extra meaning for the reader to find, no rhetorical purpose. As a result, she flounders. It's a lot like trying to read a book where random words and phrases have been set in italics. She naturally believes the passage is important, but she can't figure out why. At first, she might blame her own shortcomings, but then, as it happens again and again, she begins to swing that internal finger of blame around to you. Unfortunately, it gets even worse. First, because the problem is not limited to just sentences. The same stumble can happen when successive paragraphs or even chapters share the same headword. And second, because in addition to causing false hunts for rhetorical meaning, echoes at higher levels of structure can confuse the reader's navigation sense, making them wonder if they've somehow lost their place and jumped back to a previous part of the book. So clearly, these accidental echoes are a problem and should be rooted out of your prose. But they're accidents, right? Most writers don't even know they're doing it, so how do you find out if you are? Simple. Take a chapter from the middle of your book and go through it line by line. Underline or highlight the first word in each sentence. If you find 1 or 2 repeated pairs in the chapter, don't worry, you're fine. An occasional double is no crime. But if you find multiple blocks with 3 or more echoes, or longer blocks with 4 or 5 or more repeats in a sequence, then you may have a problem. Fortunately, once you find them, scrubbing echoes out of your prose is easy. The problem isn't with your story, It's just with the wording you've used in a few isolated places. All that's required to fix it is a bit of creative rewording, and that should be a no-brainer. After all, you're a writer. Once you've found a few, you'll become sensitive to them, and soon you'll be catching them as you make them. Then, hopefully echoes will be one of those things chalked up as a hallmark of your early years. Anyway, that's it for today. If you're enjoying this series, please like and subscribe so you'll be sure to find out about the next one. And in the meantime, remember, immersion happens naturally. All you have to do is get out of the way.